Hi, this is Deb. I'm here with Ray, my writing partner, in our office in a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where we create our World, a Twisted series, and we've completed 3 books so far, and we are on book number 4 of the series. We're real excited about it because it just keeps flowing. It's our passion, and we love our characters, and they do some really crazy things. It deals with past life love issues, and it's romance, and it's steamy, and it's hot, and it's funny at times, and it's just fun to read, and we get good feedback.
Curse of Love. If you get a chance, don't forget to read Twisted in Time, Lost Romance Found, and
A Twisted Reality.
A Twisted Reality. So we're really looking forward to finishing up our 4th book and moving on in our series, The Final Twist. However, today we're really lucky and fortunate to have a good friend, another romance writer, with us to sit around and talk a little bit about writing, romance, past lives, because all this is the stuff that I think we're made of.
Well, hello. I'm Tracy Hall, and I'm just so happy to be here and being able to see where you guys create your magic.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if it's magic, but it sure is fun.
Oh, I've read them all. Very magical.
Oh.
Thank you.
I wonder if that's how that office chair got broken.
Anyway.
Beep, beep, beep.
So, how did you start writing?
I actually have written always. You know, people say, oh, I've always written, but my mom actually has proof that it's true that I have always written. So she has stuff from when I was like 5 and before. So I can't imagine not writing. It's just a part of who I am.
It's a part of your life. That's who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You are a writer, period.
For better or for worse. You do it because you love it, I think.
Yes, you do it for the love of writing and the creativity. It's an outlet. It's fun.
Were you a reader when you were little?
Always. My mom was, too. So.
Did your mom ever write anything?
My mom is not a writer. She refuses. She says that she does not have any creativity. That her point of being on this earth is to be able to enjoy other people's creativity. She is my first reader for everything, though.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's a good way to go.
Yeah. She always tells me I'm great, so it doesn't really help so much with plot holes or anything.
Right, okay.
She'll catch typos, which is good. Thanks,
That's
Mom.
good. That's what especially a typo.
So why did you pick romance? Or did romance pick you?
Well, wow, that's actually kind of I wrote everything. I'm a Gemini, so I have very, short, I can think about a lot of things all at one time. So I've written all genres, just kind of depending. I've been young adult paranormal, young adult coming of age. Medieval romance was kind of my favorite because that's what I read to escape when the kids were little. And then that went into contemporary romance, and now I'm writing a mystery series, 2 mystery series. So
wow.
Oh, and my clean romance with Entangled, their Bliss line in the Doghouse just came out in February. And what I love about writing contemporary romance is I get to people watch, and so it's really about, eavesdropping and watching and
have fun.
Yeah, and seeing what people are doing. It's very relatable.
Gotcha. So do you find that you create a bond with your characters?
I love my characters. Yes. And going back to Mom's, their family. So she always is like, oh, how's Lolita? What have we thought about, Celestia? She was from my very first medieval romance. So they're family.
They're like family.
Right.
Okay. They're extended family. We come to work saying, what do our friends want us to do today? What are we going to have them do today? It's just a fun, creative process. You never know.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Where it's going to go.
And I love that you guys are a writing team. I think that's so great. And to be able to write together in this office is...
I thought that...
special.
since you're writing romance, to me, romance generally is between two people.
I
And
like that little
whether
caveat.
they're females or
Generally.
whether they're male and female or males,
Mhm.
it's still romance exists between two people who come together. And when we first started writing, I felt that it'd be great to play off each other. You have two souls involved,
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to look at that.
and there's an energy between all of us. I mean, that's the energy that I'm always kind of like. When I look at people, I see them different. I see them as souls, not as people. We live in a world of chaos.
Do you see them like auras? Do you see them in colors?
I do, sometimes. Some people are much more, I don't want to use the word animated, much more brightly seen than others. And I think part of that is, where you begin to search. I guess my mom dying when I was young kind of left me to fend for myself in a situation where I think I looked inward rather than outward.
Yeah, actually, that's for me as well. There was, I had a couple stepdads, and there was a period of time where you had to kind of go inward, but there's a lot of growth, I think, that happens there.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So
When you have to look inside.
yeah, and at a young age, I was 10, 11, 12, 13.
Same ages.
Makes you stronger.
It does. Once you get on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So when you write, do you go into a world that you created in your head? Do you know where you're going when you're writing? And what are you letting the story? I find stories begin to write themselves after a bit.
Sometimes I actually, because I have written, I was actually just counting and I was very surprised. I have, by this end of this year, I have 42 published books out. So
This would be a great time to mention congratulations on that,
No,
and
thank
also
you.
that you are USA Today best-selling author.
yes, thank you.
Yes.
It's nice to be a part of seeing how other people do it, because my office is actually in my living room. So, and I have a bookshelf behind me, and I've got a nice view of the treetops, which is good. And it beats my last one, which I was staring at the bedroom wall. But
Oh yeah.
because truly, once I get started writing, it really doesn't matter what's going on around. It's just you're focused in, because my writing schedule is very intense. I have to be very precise on how many pages I write a day and how many pages I will edit a day, because I also do freelance editing. So I have to keep my clients happy as well as meet my deadlines. And so I'm very project oriented.
Yeah, you sound good and disciplined and rigid in your.
It has to be that way. So I don't have time. If my muse doesn't want to show up, that's too damn bad. We just have to drag her by the hair.
Yeah. And say, here, sit down and talk to me.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this, right?
I haven't actually have. I had a psychic reading done once by a woman who I very much admire. Her name is Melissa Alvarez, and she told me that my writing guide, my angel, or whoever is in charge of everything, her name is Jolly.
Jolly.
Yeah. So I do talk to her and say it's time to rally the troops.
Fantastic.
We need to get some pages written and ideas or whatever it is, So
That's great that you feel you can turn to someone.
it's nice. I know it's me.
Well, maybe when things go wrong, you can blame her.
Yeah. No. I don't know if that would work.
But maybe.
I know. Bad day, Jolly. Are you gonna take this one?
Yeah, blame her. Blame her. Why not?
So how old is Jolly?
I have no idea. In my head, she's like this. This is gonna be so silly. In my head, she is a lot like my friend or my daughter had a friend named Jolly who was from the Philippines growing up when they were
Interesting.
yeah, but Jolly, and Jolly is not that at all, but so she's Filipino anyway. Long story short, she's like a little Filipino cheerleader.
Oh, okay. A little rah-rah. Okay, great. Great. Got a rah-rah. I like that. What about this book that you're holding today
Well, I wanted to
affect you? How
when
did
you
it
guys
affect you?
when you guys asked me to be able to come and talk with you, I don't have any really specific times when I went back to a certain place or felt like I was in a place that I've been before. I mean, I've always been drawn to like older time periods, but I don't really have. I mean, I have one story that I was regressed when I went to Romantic Times conference.
Would you like to share that with us?
Well, yes. I mean, but it's very interesting in that she asked us to go back to our first spiritual time. And so she had us look through this like door, and you had to imagine this door, but she didn't really tell you anything about it. So in my mind, I've got this wooden kind of door, but then there was like this interesting like opalescent purple metallic kind of decoration around it.
Sounds beautiful.
And so we kind of went through that, and then I really went back and back and back, and I just kind of have this idea of being like a handmaiden of sorts, but it was a very plain, simple brown dress, and there was grasses everywhere, and I had a basket that I had, I don't even know what I had, maybe vegetables or something in it, and I was walking up to, it had bougainvillea kind of surrounded, and it had the, you guys can't see, I'm using my hands on this podcast. I'm using my hands to show everybody how
Yes.
big this,
It's big.
what do you call it? Like a gazebo kind of
Sure.
thing. And it had bougainvillea all over, so beautiful. It was a female, but I don't know who, you know, but and it just felt so peaceful to me. And so I do remember that.
And
That was kind of cool. I don't know if it's true or not, but I loved the feeling that I had, and when she had brought us back out of the regression, that feeling of peace kind of stayed with me.
oh, that's nice. So it became part of you.
Yeah.
So that's when you basically had a feeling that there's more to this life than just
Yes.
one time around.
Yeah. Now I was raised sort of Catholic in one of the marriages.
Okay.
And so when my kids were little, I sent them to Catholic school, and it was a time of really searching for spirituality. And so that's where I actually had this book called Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz, and
Okay.
a friend of mine gave it to me. And it really was eye-opening in that we've been here before, and there's reasons that we're learning things in this life to allow you to be better the next time around. And that resonates with me. It just does.
Doesn't it just make sense?
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I see on the front of the book, Your Soul's Plan, and it says, discovering the real meaning of the life you planned before you were born. And I do believe that we do.
Yeah.
We choose that we're going to come at a certain time and live a certain way. Our souls are just on that path. And we know who our parents are. We pick them, and the families,
Yes,
good
I
or
agree.
bad,
Yep, I agree.
we pick. And we need it for whatever that soul's purpose needs is fulfilled that way.
Now, my son, I love Brighton, but he is very much scientific. Now, neither one of my children are very religious.
Or
Well,
spiritual?
Yeah, no. And
Nothing? Okay.
I think that Destiny maybe more so than Brighton, and Brighton is, I think he just is very searching. He would be,
How
he's
old
a
is he?
scientist. He's 29. And so he just says to me that he's very glad that I have something that makes me happy. Then we just kind of leave it at that, and we don't talk about religion.
That's fair. I have a brother. We don't talk about religion because we have different
It's
views.
different. And
And that's
everybody's
fine.
entitled to their own.
Well, it's interesting because children become parents.
Yes.
and parent you, myself. Got adult children, and it's interesting to see how they look at life. And I too grew up very religious in a Baptist church and didn't get any answers there.
More questions than answers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I always, I've been fascinated by life because I have been in a lot of different places in the world, and I'm drawn to different eras of time, and have sort of been regressed in a way that I think sometimes it's the child in me that, which I relate to your jolly. There's a part of me that spent time saying to Ray, and I've never given him a name, but what do you see? Keeps, we have interesting conversations. It's, often it's a dream. Often I end up someplace that I know well. Ended up in a few places where I just, for some reason, know my way around.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and know things that happened at a certain location. I'm tired of coming back as a soldier. I'm not doing that again.
Okay.
So he says to the universe.
Yes.
So what did you
if
have to learn? What did you have to learn as a soldier? That's kind of interesting that if you've come back so many times, what is it?
I think I've learned that life is not about any philosophy to be used against somebody else who doesn't think the same way I do. So I grew up in a home that my mom passed away. I never knew her as an adult, so I really don't know that much about my mother other than she ran an ER out of our kitchen because she was a surgical nurse. And every neighbor who ever was injured ended up in our house on the kitchen table with bandages and stuff.
And a little ER in the kitchen.
Yeah, we had an ER in the kitchen, which nobody today, because of lawsuits, would ever think about doing. But I said broken legs and arms and hands and fingers and you name it.
That's
And,
crazy.
As a child.
But I think obviously that would teach you
and
compassion.
I've seen a lot of
and empathy.
I've seen a lot of hate, and I think I came back in this life to change that in the world.
I like that.
And one of the reasons I write romance, and I can write other things too, but prejudice, hate, people, might doesn't make right. And, we live in a time where we all talk about forcing somebody else, some weaker nation, whatever it is, to make things right, but it doesn't make it right. Soldiers always carry out whatever, they're told to do. And, it's funny when you travel Europe and you look at some of the churches and you see the paintings in the chapels, and you always have whatever prince was in charge. He's sitting on the white horse over here where all the bad guys are over here. And because he was ordained, to be the one in charge, and we all think God is on our side, which that's been one of my struggles with life, because I look at God and say he gets blamed for everything, and does
Good
he
or bad.
exist? Does he exist? The earth is 4.5 billion years old, so we look at human history from about 80,000 years and think that we have a handle on what's happened on the earth. And I sit here and I look at myself and say, 80,000 years doesn't mean anything to 4.5 billion.
Right. Yeah.
And there are people I meet that I just feel care about the underdog.
I think you're one of them. That's good.
Driven by
We are.
the need to help. And I know my mother had that. And so it was passed on to me. And I know there's a person in me that wants to see happiness. I want to see love. I want to see, and I can't even define love. Love to me is a word so overused that it's a washed out word. It doesn't even mean anything to me. We live in a world that doesn't show respect for each other. We need to dominate. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why we're like that. And if there was a God, I have an issue with the way he created us.
To take it up with the man upstairs?
Yes.
The man upstairs will probably send me to the man downstairs, but I don't really care.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
If that's even what it's
for
about. And what
life.
the beautiful thing is we don't really know. And what I kind of came to, because I really was searching for, I had this basis to kind of draw on for religion, and I had this basis for how I was raised. And then you see, the people that you admire and how they act, because acting is always better than words, And I kind of had to come up with a place where I was okay with how I felt for my own personal journey without it didn't require anybody else. You could come or you could not. I feel very blessed to be able to live in a time when I can be myself on my journey, whatever that is, and wherever it goes. Totally open.
Totally open.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well,
Yeah.
part of it is we can't drive. We're not driving.
Yeah.
We're on a planet floating around.
I have Christopher to drive for me, so.
And when I looked at my life, my current life, I'm reminded of the one story, because I was going to be a minister at one point, and I studied the Bible. And
Can you
they
imagine?
caught a
as
woman in
minister?
adultery, and they were going to stone her because that was the rule of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought her to Jesus because they wanted to see what he was going to say. The story goes, they got down on the ground, and they started writing stuff on the ground, a big debate theologically as to what he wrote on the ground. And starting with the eldest in the group of people who wanted to stone the woman, they began to leave. Mm-hmm. And when Jesus stood up, he looked at the woman, he said, where are those who accuse you? And she said, they've left. I feel like I was probably one of those guys, Laubach, for a very long time in my life. Mm-hmm. And maybe in a way, writing to me has become my penance.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And being able to write about love and romance and finally reaching in and hearing my soul.
That's really good. That's really good.
It definitely helps us with writing.
To be self-aware and to be able to know yourself and where you're coming from and to be able to put all of that into your story is huge. And not many people are brave enough to look at that and say, this was that, and this is what I'm making out of it. And to be able to make a conscious choice, I mean, that's a wonderful thing as a human being.
It's a great option to have.
That's why I can write about the bad guys. It's easy.
Oh, it's easy. You're creative, though. That's how it is.
But
Nothing's easy. You gotta
No.
pull it.
Well,
Gotta pull it from
easy.
somewhere.
I mean-
Yanking.
what's easy about writing?
Nothing.
Nothing. But
Well,
you get in the zone, and then
the
it's
end
like,
is always easy to put on your page when you finally make it. The end.
We haven't even gotten there yet in the series. We're nowhere near the end of the series.
We're not.
But it will say the end, or Finney, afterwards.
Tracy, how many more books are you going to write?
I'm only at
You wanna write-
42 published this year, so I need to do at least.
What was your goal?
200.
200.
I want 200. And,
Wow.
yeah.
And how long do you think it'll take you to write 200 books?
I don't know, but I have the rest of my life.
Oh, I know you have the rest of your life. What's your guess? 3
Well-
years, 4 years,
Oh,
5
yeah.
years, 10 years,
Go,
20
please.
years.
Yeah, Christopher is looking at me like, oh my God, 200.
Chris is with us today as well. That's her significant other.
Hello, everybody.
And she just said 200, and we got to go get some water for a moment to revive Chris, because he gets to edit some of it. And that goes over really well. I've learned not to let my wife read anything I write because we can't agree on anything.
My husband doesn't even read our stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you should. It's very sexy. It's very good, and it's sexy, but it's sexy in a way that is romantic. And
So we try to grab.
But
I think sex to me
It's part of a
is
relationship.
part of being human.
mhm.
Putting a sex scene in a book, to me, is a part of real life. It's what couples do if they meet, and whether it's done for right reasons or wrong reasons, or the sex is better with one person or with another person or whatever. The sex scene isn't the important part. It's what leads up to the sex scene and what happens after the sex scene, to me. It's, but a sex scene is required, other than pretending I'm in 1950 and Lucy and Ricky end up with a kid
Yeah.
in the front room. And we don't know
By
how
the
they
stork.
did that because they never slept in the same bed.
Was the stork arrived? I saw that episode.
Rob and Laura never slept in the same bed either. So, but yet there was Richie. I don't know what to tell you.
No, you're
I
preaching to the choir. Okay, I am all about sex and romance.
Well, I think it's a part of humanness. It's what, we are an organism. An organism is driven to reproduce itself, and sex, the act of sex in its purest form, would be to continue to make people. It's changed since the 1960s, when they all of a sudden came up with a way to have sex and not worry about it. I can remember women burning bras and doing all kinds of things because we came up with the pill.
Woohoo!
Thank goodness
Freedom
for
was
that.
here. And, we've been on that run ever since. Watch any TV show any given night, and the other night I watched 2 different movies, and I think, and they weren't rated X. I'm not going to use their names because that wouldn't, I'm not making a criticism of the movie industry by any stretch of anybody's imagination. But I saw bare ass in both movies, and I'm thinking my grandchildren, who aren't older than 14, could all watch it too. So it's a part of
different now.
life.
It is.
It's different
It is a
now.
part of life, and it is looked at differently. We're in a different stage too, with children growing up,
Too fast, so fast.
and because of the social aspect
Yes.
of life, it's the social media. But
My kids had access to awful things just from the internet that we didn't know because it was so new to even look for. And so, it was terrible.
and our
So-
kids don't know any life before having their own cell phone.
So book number 1 was Tracy.
My first
Yeah.
book?
Do you remember the title of your first book?
Well, that's not fair because
All right, how about the second book?
I wrote in
How about
series.
the 10th book?
Are we talking about published books or written books?
However you want to define it. I just asked the question. I'm just curious.
Okay, well, published books, I had my very first series was published. I am a member of Florida Romance Writers of America, and I was serving as conference chair or something. I forget what it was at the time, and we were having our Christmas party, and Helen Rich was there, and she owned Medallion Press, and we were all going around talking about what stories we were writing, and I was talking about Rhiannon, Goddess in Training, this young adult paranormal series where she's born to a Wiccan family, and she actually has, paranormal abilities and gifts, and it's
That's
all
exciting.
celebrated. It's like, this is what they do, and they move from, I forget where now, oh my god, but they moved to a very small town in Washington, Crystal Lake, Washington, and she is ostracized because, of course, they're witches, and this is good old town. And so I'm telling this story, and the woman, Helen, goes, "Oh, send that to me. I would like to have that." And I went with my champagne, she spilled it in her lap, and she still bought it. But
So that's the key to getting your book published, is spill the champagne
yes, schmooze the editors, actually.
on the editor's lap.
Schmooze the editors. Now, if I had like a key, if I had a trick to getting published, it truly would be being a part of a writing organization and going to conferences and meetings, because that's where you're going to meet agents, that's where you're going to meet editors, that's where you're going to meet other people who write and who do the same thing that you do. So
I'm
it did
always
work for me.
fascinated by why people write what they write.
Well, so then what happened is that actually ended up being canceled. So it was supposed to come out, and then I got this letter that was awful, and
heartbreaking.
it was terrible. But I ended up then writing my medieval romances and selling them. So that came out instead. So I still wrote 6 books for Medallion. They since have gone bankrupt. But publishing is a tough business, and so being
Very
able
tough
to write
business, yeah.
stories because you love it has to be because you love it.
It is. Right, exactly. It's not just something like when people say, "Oh, you're a writer. Oh, I have an idea for a book." "Oh, you do? Well, then write it."
Yeah.
Because it's an idea. It stays an idea unless you write it. And when you start writing, it's a totally different animal than just the thought of, "I have an idea for a book."
We all have ideas. I've got ideas. Yeah, I have ideas. Until the cows come home, I got ideas. And no time to write the ideas. So, yeah.
So 158 books to go.
Yeah, not bad. Good math.
To
Good
get
math.
to
And he did
200.
not even use a calculator.
I
I've been
know.
sitting here watching him. He really did the math.
So they're going to be mysteries. They're going to be
I don't
romance
know.
novels. They're going to
I
be
am
a mix.
open.
What do you
I am
think?
open. I am
Yeah?
open to possibility, because I also would love to be able to write a young adult or a middle grade mystery series. I've got the first book done. It almost sold to Simon & Schuster. It was so close a couple of years ago, but I have that back. I mean, I can go ahead and I did talk to my agent already, so we might shop that around. But I need time now. But because I have, my niece is 9 and my granddaughter is 1.5. I mean, I want them to be able to have books to read too. So, but on the contracts, what's coming next is the Mrs. Morris and the Ghost series, and that first book will be out in August of 2019. And then I have another Entangled book, which will come out sometime this year, and that's the clean romance. Apple Tree Cove is the new series for that, and then I have another By the Sea book, so that'll be 17 and hopefully 18 that needs to come out for this year. And then I'm writing my Scottish Shire mystery that needs to be turned in my gin first. And I need a Scottish accent for that one, so.
I wish I could help you there.
Yeah, me
Wow.
too. Me too.
You're doing a lot.
Yeah, it's
a lot.
busy.
And then also working
Yeah, we had it.
as an editor.
Yeah. That's very cool. So how many books are you guys going to do in your series?
There's going to be, at the moment, 5 books in the Twisted series, but God knows. I'm on a run and a roll.
Because sometimes the characters just get going. And what I find that I like about a series, mine are not the same. My By the Sea series, they're connected by place in Lauderdale by the Sea. And Apple Tree Cove is also, that. So it's not the same people.
Right,
that
not the
we're
same
following.
characters.
Yeah, it's done by. So you guys, though, how you did your last story by bringing in Lila was just brilliant. And so I'm very much looking forward to your next one.
Yeah, the story is really twined around the 4 lives. and how they interact and what's happened between them, and the fact that life has been an interesting journey, that the four of them, because souls in my philosophy travel together.
They tend to migrate.
And I decided in the beginning that I wanted to twist the story around the four characters, and in the fifth book they will literally be roughly the same age, all four of them.
Oh.
So there won't be a father-mother type relationship. It'll be four adults.
Very cool. What time period are you going to do?
How I twist that together will be kind of fun.
Ah,
It's already working.
it's already working.
As I
Okay.
said,
Yeah.
All right. I love it. You just got to get it from
Yep.
here to
And
there.
I don't know if I get 200 books in, but I'm going to write until I can.
All right. Well, yeah, it's a goal. It's a goal. I plan on it, Why not? I have so many stories to tell, and I can't imagine my life without it. Like, there's just,
it's fantastic that you can write so much.
grateful, grateful, grateful.
And you write beautifully.
Oh.
And edit great.
Thank you. Thank
Oh
you.
yes, star editor.
Thank you.
Definitely, by far.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Tracy, we thank you for
Yes.
coming.
It has been my
And
pleasure.
It's really a lot of fun to always see you and Chris, and Deb and I welcome you anytime you want to come out.
Yes.
Ooh, and
Thank you again. Oh, and your laughter I love.
Ah.
I love hearing your laughter. So bring her along more.
I truly appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to catch up with some of Tracy's writings, go to Tracy Hall, Tracy with an I, by the way, tracyhall.com.
That's correct, yeah.
And you can see the different books that she has written and have a lot of fun. If you want to check out our website as well, mysticscribblers.com. We've put a lot of stuff in there about our books and about life and about who we are and past lives, and invite you to take the past life survey that we have. A lot of good questions in there in that survey. It's just kind of fun stuff. And hey, thanks for listening.
Thank you.